Hi, folks. If you fear Shakespeare would be cancelled in this day and age, and if you hate Valentines as much as I do, this podcast, Arca Workshop, is for you. But if you completely disagree with me, the door is wide open too. Everyone is welcome here in this Witty Wicklow Writers Workshop. Tonight is all about love. As free writers, we will focus on love, writing for writing itself, but also for reading and books. And yes, there'll be a bit of, let's call it confession. Have you ever fallen in love with a character, with a writer we admire? Would we dare go on a date with them if they were around today? We'll answer along the way. We'll look at love through different lenses, and we would love if you take part in the comments. Share this podcast with someone you love or maybe someone you don't. And if you enjoy the conversation, consider subscribing to the channel or supporting us with a lovely super chat. Jeroen, Maria, are you ready for this online Valentine Shakespeare style?
Yes.
I think that's a yes. I can see that. Yeah. In the meantime, we already have a comment in the chat box, so I'm going to use it as a kickoff motto. Thank you very much. This is coming from Polysemico. I'm glad to see people vocal. So what Polysemico is saying, if it's a small fall, fall in love, it's okay. But when the fall is a big one, you better watch out. So he is someone prudent when it comes to love, and probably he went through a lot. I'll be interested in knowing more of what you experienced, Polysemico. So if you can let us know, we will explore it going forward. How much do you fear, or are you fascinated by love, Maria?
Oh, I love love. Let's just put it like that. I think it's the medicine that cures all. I think what we all need in our lives. I've been very blessed myself with my lovely husband, so I'm doing better in this department than I am in writing at the moment. But yeah, I agree. If it's a big fall, you're putting yourself at risk. So it has to be a bit lucky as well, I guess, hasn't it?
Yeah, I have to say I also love your husband. Don't be jealous just because he's subscribed 1,000 of this channel, and it will never be enough of saying it because that's a title that will remain for history. So, John, I love you. Jeroen, I love you as a friend. It's a different love, but let me know. Do you see love as an enemy or an ally?
As part of your life, yeah, a bit like Maria, I love love. I'm also very lucky in that department, and but writing about it is a nightmare. I find that it very quickly becomes very cheesy, and I find myself properly avoiding it in a lot of ways. But in life, yeah, I love love. Love is great. And it is, like Maria said, something we all need. And it is that cure-all medicine, But writing about it, I find personally very difficult. It's because, where does the cheese start and where does the love stop? Cheese becomes very quickly part of it, and it's like, oh god, this is just so cheesy, so just write about, I don't know, factual stuff or history or something that brings no love into it, you know what I mean?
I think you've already given us the episode quote. I don't know where cheese ends and love begins, or what was it?
We can probably ask a cheese company to sponsor this podcast. Someone is sending love to John, Maria. I think that John is very popular. He's more popular than the three of us together.
John is more popular than the three of us together, have to admit. Maybe John should take over the podcast in my place.
Yeah, I think at some point we'll be replaced.
I think people want to hear from subscriber 1,000.
Yeah. One more comment here. Love is giving what you don't have to someone who doesn't want it. I need to unpack that. Love is giving what you don't have. So you are giving something that you don't possess to someone who is not interested.
Oh, yeah, that's a very sad way to look at things, but it's also very true.
Mm,
Yeah, I think we've all been smacked by unrequited love at some point. It's
yeah.
it could be a person, it could be a pet, it could be anything really. But yeah, no, I have to agree with that 100%.
I think there's nothing more sad than when the love is not mutual, no? Because let's say you can hate someone, and if the person doesn't hate you back, it's okay. You still hate that person. But if
That's
you love
great.
and the love is not given back, it's the worst sentiment in the world. And it happened to me, like happened to every single of us, and it's awful because you put so much effort, so much of you there, and all you receive is emptiness, and you feel dreadful. So that's my
Yeah, but
Shakespeare moment.
it's great writing fuel, though. I have to say that, like as writers, it gives you so much to reflect on. I blame John for a lot of my writer's block at the moment because he provides me with no inspiration in that department. Like, it's because of you that I cannot get over this because you make me too heavy. Shame on you. So no, unrequited love makes you a good writer, I think, in some instances, or makes you a writer, depending.
Yeah,
Can I there? Sorry, Jeroen, because we are talking about subscriber 1,000, so we need to stay on topic. Can we give another title to John? So he's subscriber 1,000 and Maria's muse. Is it fair that he is your muse?
Yeah, he is my muse. He both prevents the creative juices from flowing because I'm not writing depressedly, but he's also great inspiration for me, sure.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm basing one of my characters on him.
Well, we need to see that.
That's clearly the character that you fall in love with, then, Maria, is it?
Yeah, I'm already so past that mark. No, it's it's a completely different feeling. If I'm guessing, if you start creating a character and you're like, oh, okay, I see the character. But it's another thing if you're basing it on someone that you have feelings for already. I think the escapism gets very lost in that part. But yeah, I think I have to put some romance in the book. It's fair. And he's going to be the romance in the book. So I write what I know.
Okay, I think we could be here for an hour or two just talking about John. Maybe we'll have a separate podcast on John. I think he deserves that. But let's go back to the original topic because I know he can hijack this session. Let's get into the love of writing, reading, and books since we are writers. And by the way, people, we are going to read some of our stuff at the end just to attest our capacities, and we will love to get your feedback. So that's for a bit later. In the meantime, Jeroen, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you love writing?
Probably 11. I absolutely, I can't even start to describe it. It has become such an important part of my life and such an important part of even my just day. Without it, I start to feel a bit strange, or I feel a bit maybe incomplete is the word I would probably use. If I have periods of time which I'm not writing, I feel like I haven't achieved something that day, maybe. And so it's massive. It's absolutely huge. And in the beginning, I started out, kind of with one idea, one genre, one type of writing, and now I'm finding that I'm experimenting with other types of writing, and every single type of writing is just fascinating to me and interesting, and yeah, I absolutely love it. I couldn't really imagine my life without it now, which is odd to say considering that it's only been a year since I really started doing it. But to think about it think about my life without it, I think it would be bleak. Yeah, it's a strange thing, and it's funny how something that's so relatively new in my life has become so important. And like I said, even if it's 3 words in a day, which sometimes happens because you're busy with other things, but at least you've written those 3 words, and you do have a sense of accomplishment afterwards. without it, yeah, it's a strange thing. It's very, very strange. So I'm not really going to put myself in a position where I'm going to be without it, and I'll just keep plugging away at it. But it's become a huge thing for me, like massively important. So yeah, I'll give it an 11 out of 10, easy.
Yeah, yeah. Like the other day, I was thinking about the things that I'm not able to live without. Okay, and there are a couple. I'm not going to bother people with those items, but I think the more interesting thing is, how do you measure how much things matter for you? And I think the way to evaluate is how much your life would be ruined if those things would be taken away. No, because we tend to think that most of our routine is something that we have it for granted, and it's not like that, because everything can happen, health-wise, work-wise, relationship-wise, and then all of a sudden we are not able to avail of those things. So the way I understand how much those things matter, or the way I see the weight, is how much my life would be impacted. Let's say if I wouldn't be able to write, if I wouldn't be able to walk, if I wouldn't be able to listen to music, if I wouldn't be able to read, because it's huge. Like I can stay away from it, say for a week, but after a while it becomes too much. So other things, like let's say I like to go, as people follow me on social media, I like to go to a pub and have a couple of drinks. But it's okay if I don't go to a pub, say for 2 weeks, or even I won't, probably not, but I'm okay like staying away for a couple of weeks. Writing is different. It's a different necessity. So if I have to choose between I'm not able to write or I'm not able to step into a pub, with all the respect for Guinness, Beamish, and all that, I want to keep my writing. It's much more necessary. And the other thing is, for instance, to me, the gym. I really need to work out. It's crucial for my well-being. My headspace, it's in a totally different situation if I'm able to exercise a bit. So I cannot imagine my life without those two activities, and I owe it a lot. And the way I see that they are a very relevant routine is they need to be part of my day-to-day life. Otherwise, I would be lost. Of course, one is able to adapt because we went through certain situations, and then we find otherwise, but it's not our preference, and we need to respect and be grateful for that. The other one is reading, Maria. I know you are a voracious reader, probably the most voracious reader among the three of us, I would say. How much of reading do you think it's escaping life, or it's rather understanding the universe, existence, humanity, and all that?
I think it's very much okay and still in the realm of healthy if like every now and then you find a book that you cannot put down. So your main activity for a week is reading. You don't want to go out to meet a lot of people. You just do what you have to do to stay alive, your job, your cooking, your anything. And any chance you get, you go back to the book. But I find that if this is every book you touch, then it's only escapism and it's not healthy anymore. Personally, I read a lot. Still it's less than what I'd like to read, but it is a lot. I'm reading every day. And I find that it is rather easy to slip into removing yourself from your life, essentially. And I think, circling back to love, the lonelier you are, perhaps the most unsatisfied you are in that aspect of your life, the more you're likely to lose yourself in books all the time. But within saying that, I think that reading changes you and better prepares you for relationships with other people as well. So yeah, you can use it to escape, you can use it to improve yourself as well. And these lie around the middle part, which is of course doing it because you're enjoying yourself. And it's a fantastic hobby if I can advocate for it.
Yeah, 100%. Like reading, I think the other positive aspect of reading is, to me, is like a pause. I'm able to distance myself from the road, from the noise, from the craziness, and it's very different from, let's say, reading an article on social media or on the laptop or even on the phone. It's fine. I mean, I'm okay with the technology, but the fact that the book is open in front of my face is somehow an exile, and it's medicine. Are you guys like fans of ebooks, or do you stick to the traditional physical material.
That is one of the bookcases we have at home. So I don't need to verbally answer this question, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's
an image says more than 1,000 words.
Yeah, I've never got into ebooks, to be honest with you. I've tried them once or twice.
Do you know what an ebook is, Jeroen? Just in case.
Yeah, no, I know what they are, but
Yeah.
I have no interest in them, really. I just find that, I don't know, maybe that's just me being a dinosaur again, because everybody knows I'm a dinosaur, but it's the physical act of holding a book and reading is what, for me, is reading is about. So I just don't see the same thing when you're holding an iPad or I don't know what whatever device you're using. It's not the same feeling, I don't think. And I know, well, people say, oh, you can have hundreds of books with you and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, but I'll be reading one book at a time. I'm not like Maria, who can read 25 books at a time, and you know what I mean? We translate them all before.
Only 25. I think we're being modest in that observation.
Like, I can't do that anymore, but I'll read one book, but it has to be a physical book. I just feel that that's the whole thing of it.
I think you are talking of an act of love, Jeroen. You'd rather have the book you love in your hand than the handled random items, just floating around. I think you are just focused on the right item, and that's it. That's exactly. Maturity. Some maturity here,
For once.
For once.
No, I'm the same. I think the electronic anything just takes you away from the reading itself. I feel very disconnected, and I love reading short stories online and stuff, which, the only option is to read online. And I always find I can't concentrate very well. I can't immerse myself as much. I find books extremely immersive, no matter the genre or the length of the book or whatever. So I think it would be good for John's mental health if I stopped buying books and just switched to electronic. But I can't do it. I can't connect the same way. I just keep buying and buying and buying books. And again, because I have the issue of I don't like secondhand books. It has to be the new thing. I think electronic books will be good for my financial health as well. But no, I can't commit to them.
I have to say, I've been reading a lot of material in electronic version, and there is a reason for that, and that's our Witty Wicklow Writers magazine that is now open, and I'm receiving the material via email. So let me share with the viewers what is it, the Witty Wicklow Writers magazine. I think it's a good time to want to present here the screen if I'm able to, because I'm also not tech savvy by any means. Can we see it now? Yes, we can. Yeah. Okay. So the three of us, the Witty Wicklow Writers, we're having a contest for our upcoming Witty Wicklow Writers magazine. It's issue 1. Okay. So if you want to be part of it, want to be part of the issue 1, there's only one way. Submit your participation by filling this form with your details and attaching your contribution. Okay. It can be flash fiction, poem, essay, or a hybrid version. We are very much open. So it's simple. We are accepting contributions till end of March. So make sure to submit as soon as possible. There's an early bird fee of €5, so please avail of that. And we will discuss the results likely in April. We already have a few entrants, a lot of good quality, but I believe there's more to come. So just go ringofculture.com/publications and submit your piece. I'm going to put here in the comments section, if I'm able to. Yes. Comments.
Yeah, after all, we are the Witty Wicklow dinosaurs, I guess.
Some of us more than others, Maria. Some of us more than others.
Don't call me out like that.
Right, you have a comment here before I move to the next topic. People are very active today, which is great. nice thing for a writer to think about is why people like Jesus or Buddha or Socrates, your fellow Maria, make a conscious decision to never written any word. What do you guys think about this? Maybe Maria, because you're probably closer to Socrates than the two of us. You can say something about this.
I think there is something that we take for granted with the written word, that it's available, that it's there. I can open it, the book, I can open the papyrus, whatever, anytime and read it. The spoken word, it's like, blink and you miss it sort of thing. I think that is why some ancient Greek philosophers, apart from the fact that, writing on a stone was very time consuming and expensive, did not want to write any written work behind, is because they wanted the audience to engage with it face to face, and they wanted their spoken word to change. Then the second you write something down, whether it's set in stone literally or you put it on a page, it's there, it's done, it's out. So when you just speak something to someone, especially when it's philosophy or something debatable, people will pour in with their ideas, and then it will transform and it will evolve much further and much faster perhaps than if we're discussing something that's written down. So, and I think with Jesus at the same time, it was an opportunity for people to really connect. Like, it's a practicality. I find religion has a very practical aspect as well. Like, who would read back then? It had to be spoken, and we do connect differently when we're speaking. But on the opposite of that, you also, if you meet someone face to face, what's the quote? Never meet your heroes. You get a different opinion. Like, I'm sure, if someone just met me and someone else just read my work, they would have very different opinions of me. So in this regard, I think nowadays, with all this political correctness and we all need to have an opinion on each other, it doesn't make that much sense to be as face to face, because I don't know how far we'd get in life like that. You'd have to explain yourself fully if you were speaking this out, instead of leaving people make their opinion on the book and not on yourself. And that's something, of course, that wasn't an option. So I think that's a very big difference. Back in the day, I'd say it was more of a necessity, but I do like the Greek idea of, if I set it in stone, it will live as it is, but if I put it in your brain, it will live through you and it will change through you. So I find it very beautiful indeed.
Yeah, 100%. I was thinking here of Jesus. Jesus, from those three, is probably the closest to me. So Jesus, for people who never heard of Jesus before, or maybe they were given the wrong information, was a nice Jewish boy back in those days, and he would just walk around and live by example. Okay, he was not very interested in promoting his work, except by how he was living his life. So I think his work was his own ethics and how would he behave and interact with others. So we can say that his life was his book, whether you like it or not. That's completely up to each of us. Like I'm not necessarily Christian myself, but I really see that what Jesus wanted to do is conduct himself in a way that can be of benefit for others by showing how you can be your best self in the road. And he decided that's the way to face existence and make something out of it, and by that impacting the surroundings. I think that was, let's say, his mission, and I think that's beautiful, whether you think he made it correct or not, but at least he had something in mind that he thought would be of would be positive for everyone around. So that's why I think he was not very much interested on writing. Plus, what Maria just said, back in the days there was no option to write because there were not many readers, so it wouldn't make much sense to put yourself away for an hour or two if the results of your writing would be nearly none. We just didn't cover Buddha. I don't know, Jeroen, do you want to say anything on Buddha here? Or?
No.
I was leaving that for you.
Yeah, I know. No. But I think the other, you both have said it, but I mean, a lot of the time, and in that time, there were very few people could read, very few people could write. So it would have been a message that was lost for all three. It was not a message that was going to carry any further. Writing and reading only became a thing way later. So in a way, it was out of practicality as well. It was, just like, how is my message going to get out there? Well, it's going to get out there if I tell somebody. That's simple, So yeah, that's my input on it.
Yeah, I think this session is going pretty well. We already spoke about Shakespeare, Socrates, Jesus, and Buddha. I don't know who next. We need to come up with another speaker for
could go anywhere.
Joyce or Oscar Wilde or someone.
We could go
Talking
anywhere.
of characters, have you ever fallen in love with a character, yours or someone else, and did that affect your writing, Jeroen?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think that I have a certain admiration for a particular character that I have developed. Do I love them? Probably not, but I have a lot of admiration for them. So I haven't really fallen in love with a character I have made. However, I have, in the past, kind of, well, I wouldn't say fallen in love with, but you did have a certain kind of, I don't know, an emotional attachment to a particular character. And funny, when I was thinking about this, those characters are all quite different in the way. So depending on how a writer presented that character, you could quite easily fall in love is probably a strong thing, but you have a certain admiration for that character and how they carry themselves and who they are. So, in the past, I would have definitely had books that where I really was like, very, very kind of connected to a particular character. You could say a sort of a love feeling. That probably hasn't happened in a long time, mostly because I'm reading just historical, factual books now. You know what I mean? So, in history and factual books, there's very little of that kind of thing. But when you come across a character, especially one, I always admire a writer that can bring a character across so well that you actually start to have feelings for that character. Sounds a bit odd, but you have a kind of an admiration, a kind of a, how would you say it? Like you find yourself walking in their shoes. And I find that fascinating. And a writer who can do that is exceptional in my eyes. Or a writer who can bring across elements of a character so that you really are like, wow, that's very cool. That's amazing. That's an amazing person. That's that character. It doesn't happen that often though in my world. It definitely doesn't happen that often, but it has happened in the past when I was younger. Maybe it was because I was a teenager and I was in love with everything and everybody. I don't know. But it doesn't happen that much now with what I read. But I always admire that about writing and about reading, that everybody's view of a character is different, and that character, if you read the same character as I'm reading, you still have a totally different perspective of that exact same character, and that's what I love about it. That's the cool thing about it. Everybody has a different view on it. So you have these characters that you go, wow, I admire that person, or I have a feeling for that person. Love might be a strong thing, but
What about those characters, Maria, that inspire both love and hate? Let's say they are divisive, and they will impossible to be indifferent to.
I think that's my favorite kind of character, really. I think same as in life, it's something that we say as well, like I'd rather hate you I'd rather you hate me or something than be indifferent to me. I think when someone has nothing to say to you, whether it's because a character is not well written or because you feel no connection with that character, they're not important for you anymore, real life or book life. Personally, I love having my feelings change on a character. Like, and I've gone through everything, especially because I'm reading fantasy, and then, you know, the people are put into impossible situations and you see how they react in things they never expected to happen, like having the character that you really like make a really, really, really bad call, and then you're like, oh, I hope you die in the next 2 pages. And the opposite, like a character that seems so evil and hateful at first, and the kind of person that you wouldn't like, as the book progresses, the choices they make, learning them better, the background, why they're the way they are, you can change their mind, if not loving them, at least understanding them and supporting them, or, you know, saying, I wouldn't, you know, turn myself away from your plight if I was in a position to help you. Because I think that's real life as well. I think we tend to judge very quickly, and I do that myself. I think it's part of human nature. I find it extremely difficult to, you know, weed that out. You try to understand people, but you never can 100%. But as Jeroen said, the character, they can speak different things, but they're not speaking to you directly. Our opinions of them are not influenced because, you know, he might be mean to you, but he might be, you know, nice to me or something. So it is a very objective personality that's put out there, and our reactions do not come from interacting with them. And I think it's a very good way to understand yourself better. Like myself, I'm very drawn to characters who make mistakes coming from a good place, but who are also, I find, a little bit arrogant. Like characters like Fids in Robin Hobb's The Assassin's Apprentice, for example, or in the Name of the Wind, the people who are talented, who are exceptional in a way, but make mistakes as well. And you're like, I might have reacted like that in that situation, or the kind of person that you can forgive when they make a mistake, no matter how big it is. And then on the opposite side, when you feel bad about a character that you've hated so far, I think that's just masterful writing, and it teaches that it can be thus in life as well. Like you cannot be objective 100% with anyone.
Yeah. One thing that just came to my mind, that is not love related, so forgive me, just came to my mind while we were talking. That's why I really love these workshops, and love is the right word. It's not because we are on a fake Valentine session. Do you believe that when you are writing a story, do you put words in the character's mouth, or are the characters putting words in your hands? In other hands, who is in charge? I was just thinking here, because I never know how much I'm in control. Like I create a character, I send him out, but then when the interactions happen, he will transform him or herself, and maybe he'll be someone else after, I don't know, after a couple of pages, and then the person I created is not the same I brought in. So maybe at the start, I would say at the start, I want to brainstorm this with you. I think in early stages, yes, it's me putting words in his mouth. But often the game changes and I'm no longer in charge. Did you encounter this experience? Maria, maybe?
Yeah, no, I certainly have. I feel the more developed the character is and the more real they feel, the less you have to write what they say, and the more it's been like it's dictated to you, like you know how the character would react in a situation, you know what they say. If the character is very well developed and you put them there because they have a specific purpose to fulfill and they're not their own person yet, I find that I'm steering it more than I'm accepting it. So if I close my eyes, I don't know what everyone is going to say in a situation all the time. Like my main character, I know. I can close my eyes and I can imagine him going around saying the things that he's saying. I think that's something that progresses as the work progresses as well. Now, as well, you know, the earlier stages not everyone has a personality. You don't know everyone's backstory. And myself, I'm the kind of person who likes to jump on things sometimes without having them figured out fully. So for some characters, I know exactly who they are and what they want. For some others, I'm figuring it out as I go, which can be a problem, or it can be part of the human experiences as well. But I do find that for some of them, it is indeed much easier. I feel like they're telling me what they want to say instead of the other way around. I sound like a crazy person at the moment, but sometimes I feel like I'm writing. It's when I might sit down and write down for an hour nonstop. It's, I think, where the muse comes into. I'm not all in control. I'm not thinking, I'm just writing down. I find this is the best expression of writing. I wish it happened more often. But when it comes to what the characters are like and what they're saying, I really think it depends on how connected I feel to the character. There are some that are there because I want them to serve a purpose. I want them to create a situation, or I want them to cause certain feelings in my main character. So because I think I don't care much about them, I'm not giving them the voice that they should have, and it's more difficult for me to write them. It's something that I'm definitely willing to explore more. It's why also I find it really difficult to have 500 characters in at the same time, because I think then they just take over and you completely lose control of them. But yeah, at the moment I'm more okay with certain characters, and I'm having difficulty with certain minor NPCs, let's call them.
What about you, Jeroen? Did you encounter this experience, or it's something that you haven't really come across?
I definitely have, and it's funny because I've started writing short stories recently, and I think that in the short stories, I'm much more steering characters and how they speak and what they do and all that kind of stuff than in the longer book that I'm working on, because the longer book that I'm working on, I think as I go on, I see more and more of how the characters are. So therefore, it's almost like they're guiding me. I know that sounds demented, but like it, because of the way I see that character, and I've worked with that character for a period of time, now I'm starting to say, okay, that's how he, she, it would react to this situation, and this is what they're going to say, and this is what they're going to do. And it's much easier because in over, like 50, 60 pages, whatever, you're starting to bring out certain personality traits and that kind of thing. And I find at that stage, I was writing today about a particular scenario with one of my main characters, and it just flowed, and it wasn't flowing from me. I wasn't consciously thinking of what is this character saying. It just came by itself because I know that character. But in the shorter scenario, where it's a couple of pages and you just literally have short time to define the scene and define the person in that scene and what's happening in that scene, then I find that I am definitely steering that character more. And then, weirdly enough, I find that doesn't flow often as quickly as writing the main piece, because I'm the one steering it. I'm the one thinking, okay, well, what are they going to do now? It's more staccato, it's less flowing, it's less easy. So yeah, I've definitely come across it. And it is an interesting thing to see happen to your characters. After a while, you start to know them. You start to know them on a more personal basis. And I know you've made them up, you're developing them, but you start to know who they are and how they're going to react. And therefore, it's just sort of, it flows better. It's interesting. It's really, really interesting to see. So yeah, it's I hadn't really thought of it like that before, but it just, while you're saying it, that's kind of definitely happened to me, and even just today.
It's fresh. It's fresh.
Exactly, and it, like, I'm writing, the words are coming out, and sometimes I have this thing of, oh my God, I've just written 2 pages or whatever it is, right? And I didn't even think about it. It just happened. And I've had conversations in it, and the characters have interacted in such and such a way and whatever else. But, in the shorter ones, yeah, definitely it's me steering it, not the character.
I'm surprised. It's quite the opposite for me, and it contradicts what I was saying earlier, funnily enough. In short stories, the characters are already there for me. I think perhaps it's only a certain situation that they're dealing with. I don't have to care about their background as much as they don't have to be these states. It's about how they are encountered with the situation and what they do with it. So you made me think very, very strongly about the main character in one of my short stories. And I'm thinking, I know nothing about the man. I just know that he cares about one thing. It means everything to him. That's a story I haven't read, by the way. He comes across a situation And all I know about him is how much he cares about that one thing. That's his whole life. And because I know that, he's right there for me. I know his face. I know him to see him in the street. But I don't have more than that. That one thing sort of defines him. And I find it's a passion now that you're saying it. In all of my short stories, I have not thought well past them. For my book, I'm thinking, what do they like to have for breakfast? Like, I feel like I have to know everything about them, which is crazy because realistically you don't. But somehow for the short stories, they're already there. I think it's how commitment works differently to different people, I guess. But I just thought it contradicts everything I said earlier. Short stories
So
are
we write. Yeah, we write. We are also preparing the magazine. We have been running this workshop for nearly a year. Another thing we are doing now is the translation. So if there's someone interested in having the book in English, we can translate it between our language expertise. So if you guys are writers in Portuguese, Dutch, Greek, or Spanish, we can make it happen in English and release it to the public. So just be in touch with email there, info@ringofculture.com, and we can bring you to the international stage. Going back to the discussion, fixing this. Yeah, let's go back to the love topic. So writers and artists in general, we do have a reputation of being romantic. Are we better, Jeroen, at writing about love, or are we just terrible at living it?
Well, I think that I don't know. I think that I'm actually really bad at writing about love. It's something that I'm not good at. So that hopefully means for me that I love better in real life. I don't know, but it's a strange one because I find love is very difficult to write about. As I said earlier on, it becomes so cheesy so fast. But yeah, I think interestingly, if you look at writers in the past and all that kind of stuff, and writers that I really like, a lot of them I feel in life they struggled and they had real issues. I mean, we all know that a lot of artists and writers have issues with life, and that's part of their inspiration to a certain extent. And so some of them have described love in an amazing way, but you kind of look at their lives and you go, wow. They're clearly people who had issues with love. So yeah, I think, me personally, I think that a lot of writers who write well about love are actually the people who have suffered in their own lives, in maybe, I don't know, bad relationships or whatever it is. But somehow they're able to describe love very well. Or bring love to their writing very well, but maybe they haven't experienced it in life, it's a kind of a total contradiction, really. So yeah, like I said, I'm crap at writing about it, so I don't know. We'll see. Does that mean that I love better? I don't know, but it's certainly. But
That's another podcast, Jeroen. That's another podcast. We can set it up. That's fine. We need to get to the. By the way, people, we need to get to 4,000 hours that we fully monetize. So watch it, and maybe we have a one dedicated on Jeroen's art of love. Maybe you can give some tips and share some examples, and you're
Maybe
gonna love better.
maybe not.
That's a good
Maria-
turn so fast. Yeah, don't try to pull the same thing with me.
Do writers love people, Maria, or they just turn the versions of those people better when it comes to putting them in words?
I think sometimes we need to write about better people than who we are or who we've dealt with. I think it depends on everyone's needs. Like, like such a difficult question to answer. I'm thinking there are times where reading about a character who makes mistakes makes you feel better. or it might make you feel worse about your mistakes, or you might find love, whether it's romantic love or family love or something, in a book that you never had in real life. And you might, as a writer, want to create it yourself. I mean, a lot of, I'd say an amount of work is idealistic as well. Like, we write how we think people should be, or how we wish they were, or maybe we're basing everyone on an archetype that we've encountered as well. Like, I have a couple of characters here and there that I've based on family members that I've really, really loved. And I believe that's how people should be. So I don't know. I think we can definitely find sanctuary in our work. And as we've said before, because, you know, writing can also, and reading can also help us understand people better, I think it might make us more tolerable or more loving to the people in our lives, or to the human race as a genre. Like, you can hate everyone and be miserable, or you can hate everyone and be happy. But when it comes to books, you can find your ideal situation there. So I think it's definitely a very big topic to explore. But as a writer myself, I feel I just want to write about everything. I'm not tied to an idealistic personality or someone that everyone would hate. It's just, for me, the story takes priority. And I think that's something that depends on the genre as well. Like, I believe there are some books or some genres where people's personality and how people are the main theme of the book. And we see that a lot with Russian literature, for example, where nothing can happen for 180 pages. And it's all about how people react to situations and interact with each other. And then you have fantasy, for example, well, the story is usually more important than the characters. I think certainly it teaches you a lot, but for myself, I like a bit of everything, because such is life, I think.
Let's move to whether love is an advantage or an obstacle for a writer. So I'll stay with you, Maria. Do you think being in love is a perk for people like us, or is something that is on the way to get the work done?
It's not good. It's very bad for a writer, I think. I don't know, unless you write in romance or very cheesy something. No, for me, it's very bad. I feel I write more when I'm miserable. And especially in that topic, you know, being married and everything, and being with the same person for so many years. I like our relationship more than I like anyone else's. So I find everything in books, I find it very difficult to connect with them. I find everything cheesy. And especially if I try to write it, God help us, because I want to put some romance in the book, but I'm afraid we're all going to cringe so badly. So the beta reading is going to be very important in that case. No, I feel it doesn't help. I honestly feel it doesn't help.
Yeah.
On the practical aspect of it, if you're in a happy relationship and you do things together, it takes hours out of your day where you could be sitting and you could be writing. So no, it's not a good thing for me. It's really put me back. I think if I was by myself all day, I would be writing so much more than I am at the moment. He really distracts me. He really distracts me with food and with activities, and my writing doesn't like it. So that's my honest, unabridged opinion on the matter. I honestly,
I hope John wants to unsubscribe the YouTube channel after this.
No, I honestly find, like, on a practical aspect as well, that it is not helpful. Like, all the beautiful sadness and death poetry that we have, you can't write about those things that I used to write very much about, when you're prancing in the fields in your nice skirts holding someone's hand. It's just, you can't.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Who can do it? I can't.
No, I think when the sentiments are extreme, let's say when you are heartbroken or you are living honeymoon, there's no room for writing. You are just taken. Whether it's grief or massive passion, writing, there's no space for writing. You can forget about it. The other thing is, when you are settled with someone, then your life is somehow sorted. That part of your life is fixed. So then, at least, let's say, if you were looking for someone, you know, because you were single, and that will take you, I don't know, an hour every day, then it's an hour you get back. So in that sense, is a good thing that, okay, that when it comes to relationship, my life is somehow settled, so I can direct that time to something I've been missing, and that is writing. Of course, you need to be good at time management and make sure that you are assigning that specific slot to something that you care and it's good for you. Because most people, they get back the time and then they do nothing with it. But if you are aware that you are being given that gift and there is that activity that you put on the side because you've been, let's say, distracted, then more power to you. So I love it. Like as someone who is in a relationship for 6 years, and I can now avail of so much time that before I couldn't. But of course, I know this is personal. But to me, it works pretty well. But of course, the beginning, the first, 6 months or something, no room for writing or none of that. But that's sometimes also necessary. I think sometimes it's also good to, I don't want to change topic, but sometimes also good to forget that you are a writer. If you are on the writer mode 24/7, I think it can become an obsession, and you are not as human anymore. So and you can even get a lot of ego. I've been there. It's awful. I think most writers, most artists, especially when they are known, they forget that they are still individuals and they need to eat and shit. So remember that it's a humble exercise that we all need to get into from time to time. What about you, Jeroen? Where do you position yourself in this situation when it comes to love as a tool or an antidote for writing?
Well, I think for me, it's about being with the right person, and the right person allows you to be you. And if you are creative, or you're a writer, or you're an artist, or whatever it is, then to be in a relationship with somebody who didn't allow or give you the time to do all those things, that would be terrible. So I actually see it nearly in the other way, in that I'm very comfortable in that whole, not comfortable, you know what I mean, but like I'm allowed to be me. And when you're in with the right person and they allow you to be you, and whatever that is, being you is, if that's being a writer or a musician or I don't know what, that is a great sort of kind of freedom. And I would definitely think that for me, it's about being able to channel those things and being allowed, and allowed is not the right term, but being having the time to actually go and do those things. If you're in a relationship with the wrong person, who doesn't encourage you, who doesn't give you the support to be yourself, then you certainly wouldn't be able to do the things that you want to do, which is in my case writing. So I agree with Maria to a certain extent, but at the same time, for me personally, with the right person, the right support, the right background, and that's somebody you're really in love with, they allow you to be you. And if you are that creative person, that writer, that musician, whatever it is, and you're allowed to be that, it's like the ultimate freedom, So it's an interesting one, because I would look at it in nearly, although I agree with Maria, I would nearly look at it from a different angle. And that is that the person who I'm with encourages me to be writing, to do the other things that I want to do. Do you know what I mean? And so therefore, that's kind of real love in a way as well, because they want you to be the best version of you. So yeah, it's you can look at it from different angles, and would I be doing this now if I didn't have that kind of love and support? No, probably not. But I am, and therefore that comes from a place of love and support and encouragement. Let's put it like that, So yeah, it's just an interesting way of looking at it.
See, that's
people love
someone who sees the glass half full. I'm like, the glass is empty and I've been thirsty for 3 hours kind of person. But Jeroen always sees the nice things in life.
This is true. You know, yeah, I am a very positive person. That's true. Yeah.
I just want to announce that if people love what we do here, we do it on YouTube, but we also do it in person, and we have a few workshops in the pipeline. So next month we'll be in Art House Hotel in Dublin City Centre, Tuesday 24th, and April is time to travel to the Rebel Country, Cork City Library, as part of the Cork World Book Fest. So the date is Wednesday 22nd, to be afternoon, I think 2 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. And we have another workshop in May in County Longford, Edgeworthstown, as part of Maria Edgeworthstown Festival. And yeah, I hope there'll be more in the next few months or later in the year. If you're interested in having us, just get on this website and thinkofculture.com/workshops, and you can contact us and book us for a session. We do this online, but we also do in person. Just put this in the comments. We can carry on. I want to talk now about our good friend Shakespeare, who was also mentioned in the intro. Maria, do you think Shakespeare would survive the current political correctness, censorship, madness, or he would somehow get into stage?
No, I think he would never be allowed to put everything on stage. He would not be allowed to speak. People would be throwing rocks at him. No, I don't think he could stand today as most of the traditional writers, I think. I think first would soup his background, and if we found anything bad, he'd be permanently cancelled. And then even if we somehow did not think to check his background and focus only on his works, I'll only say The Taming of the Shrew, and I'll leave it at that. It would not fly today, or like think Romeo and Juliet. No, even if he adjusted the ages of every character. No, I think the classics are what they are, the classics. They would not. I don't think anyone we're producing in the modern age will be considered a classic, because it goes through so much scrutiny. We're not. I think we're more restricted than people back in the day. And even if you take into consideration how society was and how, female writers had to name under men, pen names and all of that, I still feel we have been opened to more degrees of morality, to more technology, to more everything, to more psychology and understanding each other, and yet there is only one or two things that are acceptable, if even, and the rest, someone will have a very strong opinion on it, and you could get cancelled by saying anything, really. So no, I think Shakespeare is a very good example of someone who would not make it very fun in life, very far in life, in modern times, I think, sadly.
But I think there is some hope, because I read on the internet that they're trying to portray Shakespeare as a black lesbian woman, and then he is about to be on the shelf. So if they manage to prove that, we can still read Shakespeare. So we just need to leave that job with them.
Yeah.
If that's proven, no problem. Then Romeo and Juliet is allowed, because it was written by the right individual. What are the odds of Shakespeare survived today's cultural climate, Jeroen? Are you the same pessimistic?
Yeah, I would say that not only Shakespeare, but I mean, a lot of classic writers that we admire or that we, have written, have read, I think those stories wouldn't fly. It wouldn't work. I mean, like there's I would be exactly in the exact same opinion as Maria, and I would think that unfortunately an awful lot of absolute classics in whatever sense of the word, right? I mean, just wouldn't even probably get published, to be honest with you, and those writers would be scrutinized within an inch of their lives. It would lead to an awful lot of, and I think there's probably the other element to it as well, is that, now with all our technology and with all our different things that we have, we're getting dumbed down more and more and more. So would they even be published? Probably not. Would we even read them? Probably not. Would those stories that we've all grown up with and books that we've all grown up with, which are classics, and people have their own opinion about classics. Some people like them, some people are not fans, whatever, but would they exist? No, probably not, sadly. And I just think that those writers and those works have their place, and they're kind of an untouchable in my world. Whether you like them or not, they're kind of untouchable because they are classics. They are those stories that everybody knows. If you ask anybody in the world, they're going to know Romeo and Juliet, or certainly the gist of it. They're going to know a work by even, I don't know, Charles Dickens. I'm just saying. Are they going to know something by a writer now? Probably not. But would those writers be able to survive, be able to create like they did? No is the answer, unfortunately. Sadly.
Yes, exactly. That's what I want to say. Very, very sad. If a genius is not able to express him or herself, then our society is not functioning, because it's rather castrating. So we want creativity, we want talent, we want merit and quality to be out there, because we can all benefit from that. So if you are stopping it, maybe you are doing something wrong. There's a very interesting comment here from our good friend Povisemico. He's saying, I like to read people more than books, but I prefer to be with books more rather than people. I really like that observation, and I think I would subscribe this comment. Yeah. You want to share? Yeah, Jeroen, go on.
For me, I mean, for me, doing like reading people is like a sport for me. I absolutely love reading people. I actually could spend days reading people, and I really like interacting with people, and also like watching people, learning from people, etc. So I'm actually, although as much as I love books, I actually would be nearly the opposite. I'd rather be with people and read them and learn. You can learn a lot from reading a person. It's incredible. It's really interesting, and from a pure pop psychology point of view, I find that people are way more fascinating than any book. So I'd be a little bit of the other side. As much as I love reading and I love books, I much prefer to read people. I think there's something really fascinating about the human psyche and trying to suss somebody out from a distance. So I'd be slightly the opposite of that.
What about you, Maria? Where would you incline? People, books, people that are like books, or the other way around?
I'm once again going to be a black cat and go with books. For the very simple life experience reason that books cannot reject you and they cannot disappoint you. Like, you want to open a book, it's always be there for you to read. If you rely on people at a difficult time in your life, people might just turn away from you and reject who you are, reject your needs, come back to you blaming you for things you're not responsible for, or blaming your reaction in a very bad situation. So no, I love people. I am of the opinion that we should rely on each other, and my ideal society is everyone's ideal society, I think. But from my personal experience, you cannot rely on people. Not all of them, of course, but even people who you think are close to you, you cannot be 100% sure who will be there for you when the going gets rough. So as I said, the book is always there for you. I know it's a very pessimistic opinion, but people can reject you for who for who you are. They can't elect not to make room for you in your lives, even when you need them, even if you have been there for them when they needed you. It's not the same with books. Books can disappoint you only in the sense that you wanted a character or the story to go a certain way and it didn't go in the end. But when it comes to face-to-face interactions, it's you yourself for being rejected, even if someone did so because of their own psychosis or because they don't understand you or because they're not the kind of person to be there for you when you need them. I find at the end of the day, it's always a personal fight versus I'll just open the pages and see what happens in their lives. And I completely agree with Jeroen on the fact that I do like reading people and I do like to expect what they're going to, how they're going to react and what they're going to be like. But it's so not reliable. So I don't know. I don't think I'm that good at reading people. I think I've fallen on my face a few times, trusting people and thinking, oh, so I'm going through a rough phase. They will be there for me. They will not forget me. And I think COVID maybe has taught us a lesson a little bit there. How often do we talk to a friend that we've lost touch with and we're like, oh, COVID was like this and like that. No, I think all people need is an excuse. And then they don't really pay the attention and they don't put the time in their relationships. Very good if you find people who can do that. And sometimes we can have opportunities like that in our lives, and perhaps we're oblivious or blind to them. I'm not saying that, I've noticed every time someone wants to be my friend, for example. No, but I do believe books are a bigger stable relationship, I think, than people in most cases.
Yeah, 100%. I think the only thing you can compare to a book is your pet. That's the only one that can compete with a book reliability.
So
exactly. He just arrived. He's here listening to us, maybe taking some notes in his mind. He's full of mystery. I'm not able to show you because he's behind. He wants to be discreet for once. But talking of the relationships and bringing back Muses the muse topic, Jeroen, is waiting for a muse romantic or just a socially acceptable form of procrastination?
Is waiting for a muse or writing for a muse? Sorry, their sound went a bit weird.
Waiting for a muse.
That's a good question. I don't know, because I think I'm not really a person influenced by muses in a certain way. I have several muses to a certain extent, but I can tap into them, but I'm not waiting for a muse, and I don't think I've ever waited for one. So I can't really say. I would have, say, several muses or people who inspire me, right, in different ways, but I can tap into them when I need certain things in my head. So I don't think I've ever waited for it. It's not sort of, but I can imagine that, you know what I mean, for somebody who works on that basis, then, maybe the inspiration comes from waiting for a muse as well. You know what I mean? That maybe kind of, you could write more while you're waiting for that. But I haven't really done it, so I don't really know. I wouldn't be able to answer it,
Yeah, I think you're more about work and discipline. I think it's more you. What about you, Maria? Do you believe in inspiration or so-called muse, or it's more about effort and hard work?
No, I think the muse is the excuse I use when I haven't put my bum down to write. I think that's the truth of the matter. No, it's at times where I feel inspired, I can write pages upon pages nonstop. But what you have to do is actually sit down. You cannot wait for the inspiration. You can't wait for the muse. The inspiration could just be a drop in the ocean, I find, most of the time. You need to do the work. And it's one thing, like it can be more difficult when you're focusing on one thing. Like I find that I'm not putting as much time continuously in the book as I'm putting in the short stories because of the commitment that it requires. But I've read quite a bit of material in my book that I'm thinking on second thought, maybe that's a short story, maybe that's a story within the story. It's not its own chapter, it's not its own, way that I want things to go. But as long as you're sitting down and you're writing something, even if you completely reject it and never use it back again, it's like trying to learn calligraphy for me. The more you invest into it, eventually, the better your letter writing will become. If you don't put the time, you're not getting better. Or if you have the craft, if you've brought yourself up to a point, I do think that you could lose it back again if you don't practice. And talent plays a really big role into it. I firmly believe there are people that are so talented that maybe don't even need the practice, but I do think it's important for everyone. And talking about characters earlier, if you don't spend time with them, you will never get to know them. Like I've taken it, I'm back to it now, but I took a break from my book for some point because I was so devoid of inspiration. I had no idea. There was something nagging me and I didn't know what was wrong with it. And I could not write on the book for months. Like it was something that was preventing me to it. And it's not inspiration. When I sat down and I said to myself, okay, I can't write the book at this moment. I am going to go back to my notes and organize all the notes I have in the book, which include character notes, the background, some like universe stories and all of that. And when I started organizing them, a pattern started to emerge which answered the biggest question that I had on this book, which I hadn't even realized that I had it. And then it resolved it. And then I was able to start writing again. The inspiration came because I started doing the work. So for me, and being a massive procrastinator myself, no, you just have to do the work. The muse is nice when it visits you, but it can visit you when you're working as well, instead of knock knock when you're sitting down doing nothing at all.
Since we're talking about love, obsession, and a bit of madness, I want to announce that I'll be launching my novel, O Resto do Hope, it's written in Portuguese, which is very much about all of that. The launch is on the 20th of February, so in 10 days from now, at Livraria Medina. So you're all invited for those who are in Portugal. And there'll be a second event in Porto on the 24th in UNICEF. So if you happen to be in Portugal, I'll be very happy to see you there and engage with you in person. Any final comments on love, guys, before we move to the readings? Anything to add? Any romantic line?
No, if I had to say it in one thing, it'd be like, don't be in love. It's not good for you as a writer. That's my little bit of wisdom. And now I think Jeroen has something very poetic and loving to say to counter my black catness.
Where does the cheese end and the love start? That's all I can say.
That's a brilliant beginning.
That should go
like
in the clothing line, apart from Jeroen's podcast jumper, the cheese t-shirt.
Yeah, we should start selling that. I suggested. Who is interested in Jeroen's jumper replica? We can find a few for sale, together with a magazine. Right, let's get into writing. Who is first? I think we didn't pick a first person. I can start then. I will start. How about that? For a change.
Take the pressure off. Yeah.
Yeah, take the pressure off. Yeah. So what I'm gonna write, or what I'm gonna, it's written already. What I'm going to read. Yeah. So that's something I wrote a couple of years ago. It was published in a portal called Nomadic Air. Is this how you say air? Like Ireland in Irish, Jeroen?
Era.
Okay, yeah. Good. Era. So I'm a big fan of Ireland. I make it public, and I wrote a kind of love letter, and I would like to read it since today is all about love. So it says the following. You get it. It's here. So making a case for my love for Ireland. Let's face it, not everyone loves the place they live. People may have their personal ties, but the majority simply don't have the courage to make the move. At first glance, it may seem that expats love the country they move to, as it was their own decision to relocate their lives there. Well, I have some news. This isn't always the case. Trust me. I've been living abroad for nearly 17 years, now it's nearly 20, and I have witnessed how easily people spit on the nation that opened its doors to them. Don't get me wrong, I've had my moments and I've been ungrateful in a manner I'm not proud of. Even in Ireland, or I should say, during the first season I lived here. I'm now on season 3, similar to a Netflix series. And I love Ireland, and I cannot imagine living anywhere else. For a nomad like me, I truly appreciate the feeling of living where I want to live. No wonder people are surprised that I'm settled. I'm surprised at that myself. Why wouldn't others be? And I'm asked very often, what is that you love about Ireland so much? And I tend to say, that's a good question, which is for those who speak English but are still far from understanding Anglo manners, how you begin to respond to a question you don't want to answer. But first of all, let me explain how you fall in love is one of the oldest mysteries in human history. It just happens when you least expect it, as unpredictable as the Irish weather. And still on the subject of love, I disagree with the idea that opposites attract. There must be some compatibility between the loved ones, built by having common interests. Otherwise, tell me, how do they create those shared memories? For instance, my girlfriend watches Netflix, but she is not a Netflix person. That's an example of how we don't do things together, and at the same time we establish our healthy buffer. Now that we brought some rationality to the complex subject of human feelings, let's try to list what the Irish are into. I will name a few: sports, music, and beer. I love the three. I make no secret of that. And they can all take place in that most famous of Irish institutions, the pub. There must be some truth to the fact that I feel at ease and welcome when I share the same passions as most Irish individuals. Besides the human aspects, Ireland also scores on the nature front. The seaside and the parks are just breathtaking. What better place for introspective errands than the Celtic coast or the green areas in the county? Of course, it's not all roses. There are thorns here and there. Ireland has also taught me that when you bed with your loved one, you are still aware of the thorns, but they just don't hurt as much. For genuine love happens when you fully accept and embrace the imperfections of the loved one and of life itself in some degree. Earlier, I mentioned that I'm a nomad and I have found a home in Era. What does it mean is that I keep the door half open, the difference being that I don't look at it or I have exit plans all the time. The Irish pub door now catch my attention. They will probably be showing sports on the screens, not Netflix, and that's enough for me to be in love with Ireland. That was it.
You always say something that's so relatable, apart from when you're talking about sports. Every other time that you read something, I can really relate to it. It's amazing. Sports, no. Anything else?
And beer.
I
don't think you're a big beer fan, Maria.
I
Beer.
like 2 beers. I can relate.
I didn't know that's something new. What are your favorite beers, Maria? Let us know.
I like Corona, which was a very unfortunate thing in 2020. I think one that's called Tropical something from the Wicklow Wolf.
Oh yeah,
in the village. So yeah, just these two. So
I haven't tried that one.
very relatable. Well, when you're over, we can have a sample of everything.
I mean, yeah. Maria, maybe you can be next.
Yes, thank you very much. So I am going to read you a base of a short story that I wrote recently. It's about a kind of love. So I think it was appropriate for Valentine's Day. So it's called Messier Partridge. The old grandfather clock in the hallway struck the hour. Its first resonating chime startled a few of the ladies gathered in the drawing room, forcibly interrupting the nodding and the smiling and the straining of sparkly stone ladder necks they had been doing since entering the room after dinner, carrying sweet smells of roasted meat and oils with them. How wonderfully do their jewels dangle. Madame Dupont rose gratefully from her seat by the fireplace. She gently clapped her hands twice and gestured to the round table in the center of the room. One by one, the gilded ladies took their seats around the table, leaving their teacups with the sauces and delicious biscuits behind. For a while, the crystalline sounds of porcelain clinking and dresses ruffling covers the practice steps of the two servants, who made their rounds collecting the teaware and snuffing out the chandelier, and most of the candles spread around in the room. By the time all the ladies were seated, a weak, warm light had engulfed them, elongating their shadows as they sat nearly still, half-empty gazes turned to the center of the table, waiting for Madame Dupont to join them. A wealthy, influential widow, the hearth-maker, as they like to call her when she's around, is right in the heart of high society. Her advice and opinion, a greatly sought-after gift, she only bestows upon careful consideration and a number of false modesty and tit-for-tat influence games. I study them all from my vantage point, close to the fire, on the fluffy cushion of goose feathers and silk Madame Dupont keeps buying for me at the slightest hint of wear. It costs more than any pair of the extravagant shoes under the tablecloth. My lady always takes care of me, as I take care of her. Behind drawn curtains, the rain is lashing mercilessly against our windows. It's not enough to distract the ladies as Madame Dupont takes her seat at the head of the table. The ribbons that secure her belt are hanging low. I could reach them if I wanted to, but my pillow is much too warm and I have found the perfect position to rest my head. Maybe later. From the secret compartment on the side of her chair, she produces a single deck of cards. For them, it's magic that she's conjured. A shared gasp cuts through the crackling under the fire. She always gets them with this one. I don't have to look at her to know how she shuffles the cards, how she controls the rustling with her long fingers, how she brushes them against each other to release the glittering substance she has applied on them to enhance the visual effect of her skillful movements. At her command, the ladies hold hands. The horribly wrinkled woman to her right and a less wrinkled one to her left place their free palms on the deck she's still holding. No one is allowed to touch her while she calls forth. They all close their eyes, and she speaks out to the ether. The words are as familiar to me as the sound of my name on her lips. I was resting on the tree when she found me. Curious little thing she was, she wanted to save me. She stopped the first young, affluent-looking man that passed by and asked him to help her get me. In turn, I helped her get him. Lucien Dupont said I looked like a common game bird he liked to hunt due to my arguably round shape and my striped sides. I reminded him of an English song he had heard on one of his Christmas strips, which talked about birds and fruit trees. He called me Monsieur Partridge. The candles on the smaller tables and on the mantelpiece are flickering in response to my lady's calling. The women can't see the change in the light, but they can feel it behind closed eyelids. The wind is howling more intensely for only a second, and the window hinges rattle softly. She's here.
wow. Wow.
You prepared the sound of it.
Okay.
That was cool.
The story of this podcast, Maria.
Thank you very much.
How am I supposed to follow up on that? You know, like Jesus.
Oh, you.
And now we have Jeroen. How about that?
Yeah. Oh man, that was brilliant. That was so good.
Well, you can read it on Readsy, or you can call me and I can read you the rest of it with my very, very trained reading voice.
Well, I tell you
And it
what.
seems that you have an Irish accent, Maria. Look, I love the Irish from an Irish lady. Sounds beautiful.
Oh,
You are Irish,
amazing.
I know.
People think of Irish. Thank you very much. Unless you said, I love hearing it from an Irish lady, but not from you.
Maybe the Irish lady is Jeroen. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Yeah, an Irish accent. So.
Not with that beard.
So I suppose then it's up to me to try and follow that up. Great. I'm just going to read you a short passage from my main book that I'm working on. And it's a passage in which two of the main characters kind of, start their journey together. Let's put it like that. Jeb went back to cutting logs. Pretty soon, Junk came back over to him. He was impressed by how much wood he'd cut. Junk chatted to him for a little while about general things and then went back to the shed. The afternoon was getting hot, and Jeb would pause to drink water and wipe the sweat from his brow from time to time. At one point, Jessie came over and asked him if he could help her get an old car up on blocks. He downed tools and wandered to where she was working. The car was not in the best state, and she was trying to put new tires on it. He went and got the jack, and between the two of them, they put the car up on blocks. She then asked him if he could help her with one stubborn nut on a wheel. Jeb was very strong and tugged at it, but got absolutely no movement. She then sprayed some oil on it, and then he managed to get some movement into it. With another few turns, the nut had come loose. Jessie had been looking at him loosening the nut and thanked him once it was free. They chatted for another minute or so before Jeb walked back to his logs. He had taken a few steps when he paused. Taking his courage into his hands, he nervously asked her if he could take her telephone number. Then hurriedly he said, "Actually, I don't got no mobile phone, and I maybe could get your address and write you a letter." He didn't know where this came from, and it was said before he could stop it. She smiled at him and said, "That'd be cool. Don't think I've ever got any letters." She took the pen lodged behind her ear and a scrap of paper from her chest pocket and wrote her name, address, and telephone number on it. He thanked her and then said, "When I move, I'll write you a letter. I'll give you an address or at least a postbox number so you can write back." He folded the piece of paper and carefully put it into his jeans pocket, then found himself shaking slightly but happy as he walked back. He had never asked a girl for a number or an address before. He found it strange that Jessie had given it to him and that she seemed to want to hear from him. He worked hard for the rest of the day. He finished the pile of wood and went back to tell Junk. Junk and Jessie came over and shook hands and said goodbye. He started to walk to the truck when he heard a low whistle behind him. Jessie ran up behind him and said, "I'd better walk you to the car. You never know what could happen out here." Jeb laughed and they fell into an easy lope towards the truck. Jessie asked him when he was moving and if he was looking forward to it. "I am and I am not," he replied. "We've lived at the homestead all our lives, so I miss the place, but I'm looking forward to moving as I guess our time has come." He stepped towards the door. He stood there looking at Jessie, not sure what to say or do. Suddenly, she reached forward and kissed him quickly on the lips and said, "Write to me," and then turned and walked away. He was in a bit of shock and climbed into the truck, started it and left, watching her. She turned, glanced at him, smiled and was gone. Jeb had never kissed anyone but his mother before and felt a wash of excitement and emotions flood all over him. He couldn't believe what had just happened and he was secretly delighted. He started to drive back to the homestead, put his fingers on that scrap of paper in his pocket and smiled.
I love those bars.
You're getting some very profound reaction, Jeroen.
Oh, yeah?
Someone's heart is not indifferent to your story.
I love this part. It's a very, young love.
Yeah.
And I love the accents as well.
I'm just trying to bring
I was
across.
taught by Jacques Lacan. Any comment on that?
Not sure who Jacques Lacan is.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. I'm not going to play smart or do ChatGPT.
We have homework.
We have homework. By the way, for those who are watching us, it's now nearly a year. So if you have any topics that you would like us to address, we are more than welcome to take them on board for our upcoming session. So put them on the chat, send us by email, let us know via social media. We're more than happy to explore what would you like to be seen here going forward. I think we can come to an end. I think we exhausted love enough in this conversation. We can navigate in so many angles and directions, but I think we did our work. So thank you very much, guys, for another lovely evening.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. And thank you to all the people out there who are reacting to us as well, which is great this evening.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So many comments this time. Thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us for this Shakespeare style online Valentine, full of love, confession, obsession, and probably a few red flags. Keep falling in love with books, with sentences, with ideas, and with people if you manage. We'll see you next time. Mind yourselves, mind your metaphors. Thanks so much for watching. Click here for more episodes, subscribe here to catch the next ones, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section.